This meeting is being recorded.
Perfect. All right. Thanks for coming back to another episode of Healthy-ish Cooking. Today we're doing the raspberry Spritz cookies. So we're going to start off with the jam. I do an equal amount of sugar to water. So I have half a cup of sugar in my pan, and I've got 2 pints of raspberries. So I'm just going to mush them up, and then we'll get the water onto the pan to start boiling. They don't have to be perfect because when they get hot, they're just going to break apart anyways. So
You said a half a cup of sugar and a half a cup of water?
yep, equal parts of water to sugar.
Okay, because on the recipe, sugar, it doesn't say anything, and it doesn't mention water.
Yeah, I actually added that after, so I tweaked the recipe so everybody was gonna get a hard copy of it. So I'll resend one out with all the updates on it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. This is like a quick jam recipe that doesn't need any of the pectin or gelatin or whatever, and I don't preserve it or anything. So it's just to do and then kind of use right away. But this recipe probably will go bad in like 2 weeks. So I have my raspberries all mushed up. We're gonna take this to the stove. I believe there's no way says that this recipe is a lot of berries, and it works with apples a little bit too. But any kind of like cherries and peaches and stuff like that, anything that's a little bit meatier of a fruit. But if you're trying to do this with like melons or a citrus or anything like that, it's not really going to work. But you can change out the fruit however you like.
Watch the pot, never boils.
Yeah, I know. I have on the recipe that you can, once when the fruit goes in, you bring the water to a boil, you put the fruit in. The temperature is roughly like 220 degrees that you want it cooked to for the right consistency. Or you can put it onto a plate, and if it stays thick and doesn't sort of like bleed all over the place, then you're looking good to go. But I don't have a thermometer with me today, so we're just gonna eyeball it. And then something to add on to that too is a regular thermometer, like a meat thermometer, isn't going to be able to take the temperature all the way up to 220. I think that just hits the very max that they'll go. But if you have a digital thermometer or a candy thermometer, both of them will easily hit 220 for you. My water is at a rolling boil now, so I'm going to drop all the fruit in. I'm gonna leave this on high just until it comes up to a boil, and then I'll drop it down to a medium, and just let it simmer for a little bit. All right, we got a boil, so I'm gonna turn it down to medium now. Keep on mixing so it doesn't boil over.
It already looks good. I'm sad I won't be able to share the tasty treats with you guys this week.
Yeah, I'm thinking for our next in-person class, whenever we can get back to doing those, I'd like to do a creme brulee.
Fancy.
That sounds good.
I've never made that. That'll be fun.
Yeah, I think it'll be the interactive part where you guys get to burn your own sugar on top of it, I think is really fun.
Sensing something chocolatey maybe for February.
I think we can work with that.
What all have you got in the pan that you're cooking?
So this is just the raspberries, the mushed up raspberries, and then the water and the sugar.
Where does the lemon come in?
I'm gonna add the lemon at the end. Once when this is kind of done cooking and it's the right consistency, I'll give it a taste and see if it needs either salt or lemon. So if it's too sweet, then generally you want to add a little bit of salt. And if you kind of like the tartar, more acidic flavor, then you can add some lemon, but it's all based off of how you like the flavor.
Okay.
I generally like to have these a little bit more tart for this cookie because the cookie itself is a very like light and buttery cookie. So it's gonna add a lot of sweetness to it. So you kind of want the jam in the center to be not super sweet and a little bit acidic to balance out the flavors. So I know you guys can't see too well into the pan right now, but you can tell that it's starting to get to the right consistency because the bubbles will get a lot smaller. It's not going to be rising up and out of your pan as much. We still got a little bit of a ways to go, but you can kind of tell that the mixture is getting thicker.
Looks good. It smells good. Now, okay, could you swap out like a blackberry pretty easily for this?
Yeah, blackberry would work really well. Cherries would work really well. Peaches or apricots. I think you could even go with an apple if you really wanted to.
What's everybody's favorite fruit? If you had to pick one to add to your cookie, Joanne, what would you pick?
I'd pick the raspberry.
Raspberries?
Yeah. Seedless though.
Okay.
Seedless.
Share your Marcy.
Yes. Yes.
What would be your fruit preference?
I like raspberries.
And I'm doing raspberry and blackberry, both seedless though, because my husband has Crohn's disease and he can't have the seeds.
Okay,
Oh, okay.
okay. That sounds like a great combination too.
Buy raspberries. Seedless raspberries a thing? I have not seen those before.
Smuckers.
Oh, okay. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I was like, they are when I buy it in the jar, you know, I've seen it that way.
I have never seen seedless raspberries before, but yeah.
Oh, there you go. You got the.
Oh, there
Smucker.
you go.
You know what's really good too, Sherry, if you like that, and I can't find it all the time, is there's a cake that we make for my family, and we use like a black raspberry seedless jam.
Uh-huh.
It's delicious.
Yeah, you can make this with any kind of jam. I made this with a grapefruit marmalade the other day. I also did it with like a peach butter, so it doesn't really matter what you're filling them with, but if you're making a homemade, you gotta make sure that you're using something a little bit substantial.
So if they're using jam from a jar, anything they should do to it, just bring it up to room temperature.
No, you can still be cold. It doesn't really matter. Just as long as you're piping or spooning out the right amount into the center. Ones that are from the jar tend to have a little bit like they melt down and they become a little bit watery. So if you're over the sides of the cookies, so you want to avoid that.
Sherry, are you making them along with us right now?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, really?
I love that.
Yeah, feel free to shout out any questions while you're working if you have any.
Well, she's ahead on the jam part right now.
Oh, okay.
She's ready.
My butters aren't all the way softened, so I'm just gonna put them here so that they have a chance to warm up a little bit before I start mixing with them.
Yeah, you can put on the counter. Thank you. Yeah, if you want to do that, that's perfect. I have one over there, so thank you very much. Barb to save the day. Making the jam, it takes a little longer than I would have thought. But you gotta cook it up good, right?
Yeah, you gotta make sure that most of the
Wow,
water
that looks
is
really
out of there.
pretty.
So I'll show you what I'm doing. So I glopped on a little bit of the jam there. It's kind of, you know, on the plate. And we're kind of looking for it to move down in one big, you know, slide like that. If you were to have just like a piece of water that shot down the plate, then it's still too soft and you want to cook it a little bit longer. So I'm going to cook it for maybe another 2 minutes, and then I think that we'll give it a try and add the lemon and salt if it needs it.
Gonna share your tip on making sure it's cool.
Yeah, definitely want to make sure that the jam that you're working with, especially once when they come out of the oven, is all the way cooled down. Because the cookies are pretty delicate when they're still warm, so they'll break, and you really don't want to get molten jam on your hands. It does leave burns. My sister found that one out the hard way, so.
Learn from her experience. We hear a little clacking noise here on the video. It's the vent, the hood vent. So if it's windy outside,
Oh, okay.
the hood vent's right above Kat's head.
All right, call it there. One little tip. Need a spoon. One little tip that I have for you guys, especially with you know, COVID and stuff going on, is not to dip the same spoon into the pot, but what you can do is just drop a little bit of the jam onto a spoon, and then you can reuse the same spoon. That way it's not getting dipped in there, but you're not doing a whole bunch of dishes later.
Good tip. What do you think?
So it's a little bit tart, a little bit sweet. So I'm going to add a tiny bit of salt. And that'll bring down a lot of that sweetness that was in there. And then maybe just like a 1/4 teaspoon of lemon juice. And then we'll give it another taste, and then we'll move on to our cookies. And we'll just let this cool down right in the pot, and we'll come back to it later when we start filling.
She jumped out of the way of molten lava.
None of it got on me.
Good thing
Just
she's
on
got
the floor.
cat-like reflexes. Literally, Cat has cat-like reflexes, in case you guys wondered.
All right.
Does she have 9 lives too?
I wish. All right.
Nice, fresh powdered sugar.
All right, so we're gonna do 2/3 cup of powdered sugar. Butter will go in all at once. If it's not softened all the way, you can kind of either just let it keep on mixing until it does get softened, or you can try and warm up the bowl by like putting your bowl either on a really, really low heat. Or if some of you guys have a torch, you can use that to warm the sides of the bowl.
Carefully,
Yeah, very carefully.
be torch certified.
And we're just mixing on low speed so that the powdered sugar doesn't jump out of the bowl.
So if it kind of sticks to everything and doesn't mush in, it's just because it's not warm enough.
Right.
That happened to me the other day when I was making something. It's very frustrating because all I kept doing was getting stuck in the beaters.
Oh, really? Yeah, you want them nice and soft. So I don't know if the camera's gonna be able to show the color difference, but this is what the butter looks like now. It's a little bit yellowy still. It hasn't really like softened up or turned whipped yet. So we're gonna drop that back down, and now it's gonna go on to high speed.
Is the butter room temperature?
Sorry, what was that?
Is the butter should be room temperature or
Yeah,
cold?
butter should be at room temperature.
Okay.
Yeah, mine didn't quite have enough time to soften up yet. So it's still a little bit warm. I didn't realize, I think I left it on the last time I used it. I did bring my torch, but it's not got any juice in it. So we're just gonna have to kind of let it do its thing. All right, so I think this butter needs a little bit of help softening up. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna take the bowl to the stove. And I'm just gonna warm up the sides of it. And that'll help soften up the butter a bit. You try to keep it over here.
So sometimes I cheat and I use the microwave to soften up the butter. Is that okay or is that not good?
Yeah, no, that's fine. But, I mean, you can't put metal in a microwave, so we improvise. All right, we'll let that mix and whip up again.
All right, Don, leave quiet, everybody. It's okay. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
All right, starting to get there. Just want to make sure you're scraping down the bowl every few minutes. You can kind of see it now. It's starting to lighten in color. It's a little less yellow. It's turning more into like a creamy white color. So I'm gonna let it go for a little bit longer until it's like nice and fluffy looking. So our butter's looking good. You can see there's no lumps or anything in it. The color is kind of white into that nice creamy white color. And you can see like all of the sides. There's a lot of air pockets in the bubble or in the butter. So we're good to move on from here. We're gonna add in our vanilla, the egg, and then an extra egg yolk.
Did you add 1 or 2 tablespoons of the vanilla extract?
I added 2 in my recipe. The reason it's so high is it's my recipe from college, and my chef in college was French. And I don't know if this is all French people, but it was definitely him. He loved vanilla, loved it. So if anything called for vanilla, he always told us to double it.
Oh,
So 1 tablespoon is probably more than enough, but the recipe I have calls for 1 or 2. Sorry.
all right, thank you.
So I'm just giving the bowl a good scrape down, and I'm only mixing until the eggs are combined with the butter. You don't want to over mix them because it'll make the dough really stiff when you're mixing. And I'll show you what mine looks like. The eggs aren't totally mixed in, but I don't want to keep on going any further because I don't want to over mix them. So as long as it's mostly combined, it's okay. Any of the extra liquid the flour is going to soak up. And then a quick little note on the flour. I used flour with cornstarch, and if you ever need to use cake flour, you can take out a tablespoon of flour per cup and substitute in a tablespoon of cornstarch. The differences in flour is really only the amount of gluten that's in it. So like bread flour has a ton of gluten in it, and cake flour has very little gluten in it, and then AP flour is just like for general use. So this is just AP flour, the amount on the recipe with the 3 tablespoons of cornstarch in it. So we're gonna add it all at once. Then we're gonna mix this just until combined. If you're using an electric mixer like I am, even just a hand blender, make sure it's off. And if you're using a hand blender, make sure it's unplugged or you take the little whisks out. But it's actually just a ton easier to go in with your fingers and wipe it down.
Much easier.
Much easier.
And it takes less time.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't like getting messy, go ahead and go in with the spatula. But if you're all right with getting a little bit of dough on your fingers, you get it much cleaner, much faster. Thank you. All right, and on the recipes, I have two different options for how you can create these cookies, which I guess there's technically three. You can use one of the dough presses if you'd like, but I do not have one of those, so I'm going to show you the other two methods. I have a cookie scoop. This one's especially better to use if you've got like carpal tunnel or arthritis or anything, because it's a lot easier on your hands. The piping bag does take some work to try and get the dough out of. But you'll just go in, you'll scoop the cookie, and then you'll just kind of roll it up in your hand to make it a nice ball. And we'll line the pan with these. These cookies don't spread that much. So if you're making these at home, you can go ahead and line them up. Just make sure you've got about a thumb width between the cookies.
How many cookies does this recipe yield?
I was getting roughly like 3 dozen out of it. It depends on how big you're making your cookies, but you can get a decent amount out of this one batch. So I'll finish those up later, but I'm gonna show you the how to do them with the piping bag now. So you only want to do a little bit at a time. So you want to kind of just do what you can fit in the palm of your hand.
When you're using a piping bag, like icing, stuff like that, do you tie it, you just close it with your fingernail?
It depends. For me, I don't tie them unless it's like a watery consistency. For these ones, as long as you're, being careful with it, it doesn't usually sploosh out the back of the bag. But if you don't tie it, then you can refill it and reuse it. So I generally don't tie it. So I do twist it though. Just put a tiny glob of dough into the corners so that, yeah.
She's got all these cool tricks.
You just press it on there and the paper stays in place now. This. Bring it closer. When you're doing the cookie, you're gonna start in the center, you're gonna pull down and then around, kind of like
Almost like a D.
yeah,
A weird D sort of.
yeah. Or like a G if you're gonna connect
Okay.
the circle. So yeah, I'll show you. So you start in the center, come down a little bit, and then you circle around that little like tag at the center there.
We're gonna get really close for the next one so you guys can see that.
So start in the center, come down, work your way around, and then release.
That was pretty.
These are called rosettes. You can play with shapes a little bit if you'd like to. If you're not very comfortable with doing it this way, let me see. I suppose that works. You just press all of it out into the right amount. It looks okay. Yeah. I'm still going to continue with the rosettes though.
Sherry, what style cookie are you doing?
I just got a mic off.
She's probably busy making her cookies. And I asked her a question. It's like when you go to the dentist.
It's like when you go to a restaurant and the waiter asks how the food is.
Yeah, your mouth's full. Your cookie dough up to your elbows. So how many cookies does this make? It seems to make a lot.
Yeah, I did mine. I think these are a quarter sheet pan. So I did 2 half sheet pans and like filled them with mine. So I got maybe 3 or 4 dozen. But I will finish these rosettes and then we'll go on to filling with the jam.
So it does take a bit of muscle to make these.
Yeah, a little bit. The like I was saying, the piping bag version is not as friendly for people with muscle issues in their wrists.
Yeah, no, that's a good tip. I'm sure we might have some people that do have carpal tunnel or some other issues. so
Yeah.
that's-
Perfect. So I'm gonna put that aside for right now. All right. So for these, there's I guess 2 different ways you can do it. If you really don't like sticking your finger into them and just making a little divot, I've got tools that are kind of rounded at the bottom. So this is for like working with fondant. You can just kind of press it into the center. I don't like that one too much because it's a little too small, but the melon baller is a little bit too big. But you can just kind of go through and press a little circle into there. But it's just easiest to go through with your finger. Put a little indent right in the center. You don't want to go all the way down to the pan. You're looking to go about like 2/3 to 3/4 down into the cookie. And then I'm gonna wash my hands real quick. Oh, I think I got a lot of flour.
And when you guys make your cookies, be sure to send us pictures of them. We love to see them. I do send them to Kat.
Mhm.
An eighth of a teaspoon works great for making the wells for the jelly.
Oh, okay.
Nice. Good tip.
Doesn't feel hot. So here's to hoping.
I can see why this would be dangerous now if it was really hot. I still use Kat's tips for all that. I use a little glass and put my bag on there, and then I pour it into there so I wouldn't burn my hands or make a mess.
All right, so we'll cut a little hole. Don't want it too big so that you can control the amount of jam coming out. And then we're just gonna fill the hole until it's kind of nice and level with the top of the cookie.
We got bakery quality cookies here, people. So if you don't have a piping bag, you can still put it in a Ziploc bag and cut the corner, right?
That's true. The other way you can do it is just grab a little spoon. It's a little messier. It's kind of hard to be accurate with it. That's why I use the piping bag. But you're more than
Good.
welcome to go through with the spoon and just drop some of the jam in there. So I'm gonna pop these in the oven, and then while I finish up the other pans, these will cook and hopefully be done around the same time. So oven is at 350, and it's gonna go for between 10 and 12 minutes. Is there any questions while we're waiting for the cookies to bake off?
What do you? The ones that you roll out,
Uh-huh.
how do you make the indentation?
Oh, same way. You can stick your finger in them.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever way you decide to do. These little balls are gonna hold a little bit more of the jelly just because they're round and you don't have to worry about all of the divots from the piping bag.
Do they crack?
The cookies?
Yes.
No. They kind of just bake in the shape that you make them in. So they don't really even spread.
You could always wet the pan with cold water to have the parchment paper stay in place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can use water. At work, we hit it with a little bit of pan spray, and that also helps it stay in place. Because sometimes the water will make the parchment kind of roll in on itself. But the parchment keeps it in place. It doesn't move. Or sorry, the pan spray will keep it in place too, and it won't roll up or anything.
I think for people that really like the jelly part, you get more jelly in those cookies.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a jelly fan. I think you should make them like that. The jam fan.
Yes. Yes. Now, Kat, if you want to put Nutella in them, can you do that?
Put what?
Nutella.
Nutella,
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
once they're cooked?
I honestly, you could put it in even before they're cooked. Yeah, because the cookies don't really cook for long enough or at high enough of a heat that the Nutella is gonna burn before they're done. So yeah, you can just fill them right up and it'll be fine. It might be a little bit drier is the only thing, but you can definitely wait until they come out of the oven too if you want to do it that way.
Oh, Marcy, you're gonna have to tell us how those are.
Yes. Soon as you send us the new recipe, I'm gonna get on them.
You got it.
Thank you.
With these balls, if you're using this cookie scoop, you don't technically have to roll them up. But when I was testing them out, they just didn't look as good. So I like to roll them out. It makes it kind of look a little bit smoother. If you leave them just sort of like this, you can see all of like the bumps and the texture in the cookie.
Yeah. So you're in bakery quality cookies.
They came out of those cookie cans.
Here, I'll grab some oven mitts.
Okay.
We might need those.
So the way that you tell that these cookies are done is you're gonna try and look at the edges of them. And if you see that they're just starting to change color, then they're ready to come out of the oven. That's how you get them like really soft and nice and crumbly and delicate. But if you put them in for like an extra 2 minutes or anything, they're not gonna burn. They're pretty foolproof, these cookies are.
Smells even better now, and I still haven't had lunch. Cookie cookies for lunch?
I haven't either.
Nah.
I mean, they're fairly healthy as far as cookies go. They got fresh fruit,
Fresh fruit, true. There's fresh fruit.
eggs in it.
Eggs, yep.
There's not a ton of sugar. 2/3 of a cup for the Sunny cookies.
There's a lot
That's
of
not bad.
cookies. There's the hearty serving of butter. I like butter. So now I do have a question. I don't think we talked about it. So we used powdered sugar in this recipe,
Mhm.
right? Instead of regular sugar. Just because it makes it a little sweeter and you can use less or easier to work with.
It's actually for when you're whipping up the butter.
Okay.
Because powdered sugar is like really smooth.
Yeah.
It helps make the butter fluffier.
Okay.
But if you were to use just like regular granulated sugar, it would make the butter have texture. So
Gotcha.
you're trying to make like these like smooth, like the perfect smooth, cute little cookies. So the granulated sugar just doesn't have quite the same effect.
That makes sense. So if I'm thinking like I'm picturing, like chocolate chip cookies, a little grainier texture.
Yeah, so that those you would definitely use just regular sugar on. It also helps with the piping too, since it's like a smaller grain that you're trying to get out of the bag. It's a little bit easier to work with.
Do we have any Bills fans on the call today on the video here?
Yes,
Is that a yes or no? Yeah, Marcy?
yes.
Oh, that's
yes.
right.
Go
That's right.
Bills.
So I'll send you a picture of the cookies I made this weekend.
Oh,
I made little cutout Buffalo Bills cookies and apparently I have to do it again so they keep winning.
hey. They better keep winning all the way.
I know, I'll be very excited.
Oh man, I couldn't imagine Rochester if the Bills make it to the Super Bowl.
This would be the happiest place. It'd be like Disneyland
I
for
know.
like months.
It's gonna be
People,
wild.
Yes.
people would be
Yep.
so happy.
Buffalo will go crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I work at Wegmans, and even with them just being in the playoffs, like everyone's just going crazy about it.
Yes.
My son's a big fan, so we got Donuts Delight did some Bill's Donuts too.
Oh, yes.
So we
Yes.
picked some of those up. I did that starting last year in the middle of the pandemic where, little things to lift up our spirits.
Where did you find the cookie cutter for the bull, really?
No, it was more like, so it was a jersey, a football, and then like,
Oh,
one other thing, I'm trying to think of what it was. Oh, like a megaphone kind of thing. And then I just wrote on them.
oh,
So they look like the Bills, like a Bills jersey. I used that color icing.
yes. Very talented.
Looks like they got another minute.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna put another
They
minute
don't look brownish at all. So I will send you a picture, Marcy. They weren't my finest cookies that I've created, but I keep taking Kat's tips. I keep getting better.
That's okay.
It's an hour.
I
Go
watch it.
Bills.
Okay.
They're all set.
Also, if you guys are looking for like specialty cookie cutters, the Restaurant Depot out in Henrietta is very good. I don't know if they're gonna like specifically carry Bill's stuff, but you can find almost any shape you're looking for there.
Where's this?
It's the Restaurant Depot in Henrietta. It's off of is it Clay Road?
Hmm.
There's
Yeah.
it's by like Lori's Natural Foods and Palmer's Meats.
Oh, it's right in that plaza there?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's right across
Okay.
from Laura's. It's lovely. There's so many fun things to buy. in
Oh,
there.
yeah, if you guys like cooking, it's like a candy shop. I go in there and I spend an hour there.
They do like mixing bowls and stuff too.
Yeah, they've got mixing bowls, they've got like knives and spatulas, like any kind of little kitchen gadget you're looking for. They even have like heavy hardware appliances and stuff.
All right, let's check on our cookies.
And like cake boxes and cake boards and stuff, if you guys are ever baking and need those.
Oh, I think I've been there.
Little brownie. Yeah, one more minute.
One more minute.
I can kind of see it starting to brown on the bottom. Yeah, it's my go-to place. If I ever need some shopping done for my kitchen, that's where I go.
Yeah, so if you do a lot of baking, they have those piping bags. It was what, $20 for 100 bags. That should last a little while.
Hopefully.
But I did. I found the little cookie cutter shapes. I sent my son out, and I think he found them at like Hobby Lobby or something. They were just like a couple of bucks, so it was kind of nice.
Yeah, I know Wegmans might have some too. Wegmans is huge into the bills, so they've got a ton of displays. They might have cookie cutters there.
To check it out.
All right, let's see. Here's my cookies. Show 'em.
Great job.
There, our timer's going off too. So
Good job, Karen.
Yeah, those are nice.
Those are very nice.
bake more this year, so it was kind of fun. The
Very
most
nice.
difficult thing I realized is trying to make brown.
Oh, the color.
It was very
Yes.
difficult. I looked some stuff up. I wound up adding some cocoa powder and it finally worked.
Mm.
Yeah, it's hard to, especially when you've got like a white frosting, it's hard to get dark colors to look good. Red is also very difficult.
Yeah, my red's a little pinkish, but I didn't want to add enough that it was gonna be taking forever.
I'm gonna fill these and then I'll pull those over here for
Was in? Okay.
Could you add the jam after they're baked if you wanted to?
You could. The biggest concern I would have with that is the jam will be runny. So if you're trying to like transport these anywhere, it's just gonna stick to like any sort of plastic wrap or wrapping that you've got going on with it.
So this kind of while it bakes, kind of solidifies a little bit more.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, even fresh out of the oven, the jam is still a bit runny.
Mhm.
So you can do that. You can. These are a very similar recipe too to like those Hershey like peanut butter Hershey Kiss cookies
Yeah.
without the peanut butter in them.
Right.
What's the best way to store cookies so they don't get hard?
I like to do them in like a Tupperware container and I put parchment between each layer.
Do you ever put a slice of bread in there? Somebody
got one left.
suggested that.
Perfect.
It depends on the cookie. Like chocolate chip cookies, like things that I know will kind of dry out a little bit faster, I'll do that with. These cookies are pretty crumbly. And like I left them on my stove top, I think for like 2 days at home, just kind of snacking on them. And they didn't really dry out or get stale or anything. So these ones don't really need, yeah, they won't really need the bread in the Tupperware container.
Okay.
Ooh, we're going back in.
What about storing them in tin pans? Does that keep them fresh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would work.
Yeah, I think as long as you can even just get some aluminum foil over it or something, they'll stay pretty fresh.
This way, where are you
Oh, I'm gonna set these up right in front of it.
going? Pardon the camera difficulties.
Alright, I didn't even need that. Pan's cool already. Alright, so these are the cookies, they're finished. You can see
They look
there's
good.
a whole ton of color on the bottom. Maybe depending on the cookies, some of them have a little bit more depending where they were in the oven. But yeah, they're just a very nice, light, delicate cookie, and yeah, that's it.
They look pretty. They look nice. Martine, if you just hopped on, we recorded this whole session, so I'll be putting this on our YouTube channel. So I'll be sure to send that out to everybody.
Oh, yeah, great. That'd be
Okay.
wonderful. Yeah.
Super.
They
And
look good. I could go for a cup of coffee and a couple of those.
yeah, some tea and
Yeah.
cookies right now.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
Yes.
The perfect tea
Thank you,
time
Kat.
cookie.
They look good.
You're very
Look good.
welcome. Thanks for tuning into the show.
Now,
Yes.
I'm sorry. Did you use the spritzer, the machine or the press?
No, these ones I did with a piping bag and just did them by hand.
Oh, okay. I have a piping bag, but I was also prepared. I have the press. I've never
Oh,
used
okay.
it, but I suppose I could just the same.
Yeah, these are definitely, they should be compatible with using the cookie press.
Oh,
I would
Right.
definitely make sure if you're using the press, you've got the butter really well softened. Make sure the eggs are at room temperature. That way you're pushing out like the softest cookie possible.
Got it.
Oh, look at you.
Sherry, your cookies look great.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they look nice.
They look
Awesome.
really nice.
Nice job. And she's got them in the oven. And
That's
her house
awesome.
is smelling good too.
That you did that with the blackberry jam? I don't know if she can hear me.
I think she can. Okay, she muted on that side.
Those look awesome. Thank you for showing those.
Very cool.
What do you do with all those beautiful cookies?
Well, we can't eat them all, so we got to give them away.
Yeah. Oh, my husband's gonna have a great time.
Well, awesome. I hope everybody has a great week. If you're coming in to pick up some food, I am here today. I will be in the office tomorrow too. I think I've talked to a couple people. So we will see everybody. I gotta stop recording. We'll see everybody next month.